everybody. Here we go!
In case of emergency, the exits are here, anywhere. Keep your hands and arms inside the carpet.
Name is Hades, Lord of the Dead. Hi, how you doing? We dance, we kiss, we schmooze, we carry on, we go home happy. What do you say? Come on.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Welcome, Ohana, to the Disney Guys Uncensored. This is episode 44, recorded on January 20th, 2020. We are your hosts, Drew and Bob. And on tonight's episode, we welcome our favorite travel agent, Jordana Izzo from Travelmation, to help answer some questions about booking and planning a Walt Disney World vacation. So come, journey with us. Whether it's your first time visiting or your 50th, we will guide you through this exciting, complicated, and time-consuming process known as booking a Walt Disney World vacation. And let's not waste any time and head on over to the main topic of the week.
The question that Disney guys get asked most often, believe it or not, is what is Walt Disney World? Well, that's an impossibly hard question to answer. So we've broken it down to the basics, and we think you're going to enjoy over the next hour or two our input on how to book a trip and, to be honest, answering the question, what is Walt Disney World? So let's give you a quick rundown. Walt Disney World is an entertainment complex in Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista, Florida, near the cities Orlando and Kissimmee. Opened October 1st, 1971, the resort is owned and operated by Disney Parks Experiences and Products, a division of the Walt Disney Company. The property covers nearly 39 square miles, which is twice the size of Manhattan, and believe it or not, only half of that has been developed to this day. The resort destination consists of 4 theme parks consisting of Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney's Hollywood Studios, and Disney's Animal Kingdom. It also features 2 world-class water parks in Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, 27 themed resort hotels, 9 non-Disney-owned properties, several golf courses, a wonderful camping resort, and other entertainment venues, including the outdoor shopping center Disney Springs. Walt Disney World is the most visited vacation resort in the world, with an average annual attendance of more than 52 million. The resort is the flagship destination of Disney's worldwide corporate enterprise, and has become a popular staple in American culture, having been featured on several television program specials. So with that, Drew, how do we book a trip to Walt Disney World?
Yes, Bob, booking a trip is an overwhelming and complicated process, and we are here tonight to kind of simplify it for you to the best way we can. And by doing that, we wanted to break things down into milestones. And like Bob just alluded to, the first milestone is booking a trip. So the first thing that you need to do is, of course, pick a date. Pick a time of the year. And I always like looking at it as, the easiest way is you got to look at your schedule, see what works for you and your family or whoever you're traveling with. And I like to break it down by season, right? So, spring, summer, fall, winter, and then you can kind of start going from there. But let's ask our guest of honor here, Jordana, who we have on tonight. Jordana, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We are happy and excited to have you here. So how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very excited to be on the show.
Great. So when you get a client, right, that you're going to go and you're going to book, and I'm sure that's one of your first questions, what are you thinking? So why don't you kind of explain to us a little bit of the logic of even how early can you book, how early should you book, and those first main questions of when should we book it?
So I usually advise to book as far in advance as possible. Right now, all the dates for 2020 are out, and usually Disney releases the packages for the next year, the June before. So 2021 dates should be released sometime in June of 2020. I usually just recommend that we'll try to get you the best rate. If any promotions come out between now and then, we could always update your reservation. And, that definitely will help us narrow down, give you some different options with pricing, whether we can look at March or February or September and see what kind of works best with all the options.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So again, there's the earlier the better, and unfortunately Disney, everyone has decided it is one of those vacations that you plan months and months, if not a year or so in advance, to make sure you get your best possible rates and you get what you really want. So definitely keep that in mind. It is a long process. It's not typically a vacation. It doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's not typically a vacation that you just kind of booked and the next month you're leaving. So there's a lot of other things like that around it. Now, when I think of picking that time frame, again, there's kind of three main categories that I look at to help me decide when I want to go. And those two categories are really weather, crowds, and events. So what kind of events are going on, almost like a non-ticketed event. So let's start with weather. Beautiful land of Florida, right? You're not going to get much better as far as the weather goes. There's really not a wrong or right season. Again, it depends on what you're looking for. It does get very hot in the summers, high 90s, very humid. So if you don't want to be sweating the whole time, you might not want to pick the summer. Rain, right, Bob? There's a lot of rain kind of going on there, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. If rain is an issue, you kind of want to stay away from August. That averages about 7.3 inches of rain a month. The driest month, believe it or not, is April, about 2 inches of rain a month, which defeats the purpose of April showers bringing May flowers. But you certainly want to take a look at a lot of things. Andrew, you're right. Especially in July and August, not only is it wet, but right there, the average high that time of year is 92 degrees, and that's average. And Jordana, I know you can speak to it, and Andrew, we've all been that time of year. Man, it gets ball soup warm out there sometimes. So
kind of hot when your underwear sticks to your legs.
Correct. And if you get that movie reference, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will gladly send you a sticker. But to me, I don't know there's a bad time to go weather-wise. And Jordan, I know we were speaking offline. You really liked that November time frame right after Thanksgiving for many reasons. But weather-wise, it's tough to beat that time of year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually I think of it as the perfect time to go for many reasons, but weather-wise, it ends up being, 75 during the day where you're comfortable, in just like a t-shirt walking around, but you're not sweating. So that's what my go-to.
Absolutely. And the other thing with the fall, you guys want to keep in mind, Florida is prone to hurricane season, right? Now, you can't. And for me, you can't live life afraid of what that's going to happen, right? You can't be afraid that, is it going to rain that day? Is it going to be a hurricane? That's the weather. You have to control that. Nobody can. So, but it is something to keep in mind. So weather is one of the three big factors you want to think about, and think about what you want to be wearing. Do you want to be hot and sweaty, and do you want to be going to the water parks and in the pool all the time? Or would you prefer more of a relaxed climate, where it's to the 60s or 70s and you're more comfortable? Mm-hmm. So definitely a big consideration. Now, the second one we're talking about is crowds. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as it used to be back in the day, 10, 20, 30 years ago, where there were a lot of less people going, and you kind of book your times around that. Disney is a busy place. It's continuous to grow. As Bubba said a little bit earlier in the intro, 52 million people a year are going to this destination. So it's going to be crowded. And you need to just live with that. You need to understand that it's going to be, and you can't get frustrated. You can't get angry. There's a lot to do and see, and that's the beauty of it. No matter how many people are there, you're still going to be able to do, and see what you want to see. But yeah, do you guys have really anything you want to add about the crowds in general?
I think for me, don't be scared of crowds, like you just said, because sometimes I think crowds may mean a better time. I think, if you go during certain times of year and you're in Disney Springs and they have live music on the water, I mean, there's a lot more going on when the crowds are in.
I'm down for a good party.
Right. So I think the important thing to remember is you can't control those things. You can only kind of react to things you can control. So know there's going to be crowds. Know the weather might be spotty, it might be hot, might get some rain. I mean, so I think the best thing you can do is just kind of take it on the run a little bit and take it all in stride and say there's going to be crowds there, that they average 1 million guests a week. So let's just kind of have a good time with it.
Now, Bub, I mean, there are a lot of the major holidays, right, are busier time. So the obvious ones, Christmas time, Halloween time. I mean, really from after Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's is a time where it will be overcrowded. What other ones? You got 4th of July is a busy weekend.
Yeah, 4th of July. So 4th of July, and I know that Jordana has a client and a listener of the show, might be headed down there right around the 4th of July. I will say that I've been there on the 4th of July, and the 4th of July proper is insanely busy, similar to the way New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are. More so New Year's Eve, but crazy busy. But the week after that, not terrible. What you've run into, though, Drew, especially in that December, the Thanksgiving to December, the week of Thanksgiving is usually a very busy week. And then probably the week, Jordan, what do you say, the week and a half or so before Christmas, right through New Year's, are really, really busy. But there's a couple weeks in between that are really a great time to go. And I know, like I said, and I hate to keep going back to it, but we talked offline a little bit. And that time of year, from that post-Thanksgiving week to, what do you figure, like the 17th of December, roughly, are pretty open times. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So great. So don't get caught up on trying to find the perfect crowds. It's hard to judge that nowadays because everyone's trying to do what you do, and they're trying to do when it's least crowded. The third big decision maker, or what goes into your decision, is what we call non-ticketed events. So what this is pretty much Disney is hosting some type of event that they're sponsoring, or they're opening up their facilities, or they're hosting some sort of thing. And some of these examples are Disney is really big into marathon running. So this is something that people come around the world to participate in and compete in. I mean, last weekend they had their big marathon weekend, but they also have marathon weekends throughout the year. So it's not tied to one weekend at all. But that draws a lot of people. You see, sometimes it's difficult to get the hotel or resort that you're looking for. They have cheer competitions, which I believe are going on right now. So, Bob, they also have something going on this weekend pretty big. What do they have going on this weekend?
Yeah, so since the NFL decided to move the Pro Bowl, which is the equivalent of the NFL All-Star Game, from Honolulu, they've moved it to Orlando. And the Wide World of Sports complex on property hosts a skills competition and hosts kind of the Pro Bowlers. Not the game. The game is played down the street at Camping World Stadium, but the skills challenges, and there's some meet and greets and stuff. So right now that is going on this weekend. That is the weekend between the conference title games and the Super Bowl. Super Bowl normally falls that first weekend in February. So figure every last weekend of January or so is going to have that skills challenge NFL Pro Bowl thing. They did sign, if I remember correctly, I think an 8-year deal to keep it in Orlando. So it's something to think about. And I don't know that necessarily it's going to drive a ton of crowds, but it's something alternative to do, and something that you're not going to do every time you go. So something worth checking out, I think. And Andrew, just so you know, you can go right to the ESPN Wide World of Sports website for any information on all these events that happen throughout the year. I know there's some Pee Wee football championships that go on. They have baseball tournaments and soccer tournaments. So that's what we got to look out for. And the cheer competitions are all the time. There are several big cheer competitions throughout the year. But But really, you do want to go to the ESPN Wide World of Sports website, and like we said, the schedule and all the information is there. If they're charging admission that day or for whatever they're doing, you get all the information right on the website.
No, and that's all valid point. And like we said, especially these types of events, folks, we're not going to be able to know them all. No one expects anybody to know them all. Google is your friend. The internet is your friend. We are fortunate enough to live in a world today where all this information is at our fingertips, and we're helping you to kind of break down and tell you what to look for. So that's definitely one you want to look for. All right, the next part of milestone 1 is you're traveling. It's how are you getting? What's your journey? And everybody's journey is going to be completely different of how you get to Walt Disney World, and you need to start thinking about that actually right now before you even book your trip, right? So it's something you really need to keep in mind. And we broke it down. I'm sure there's other ways we're not thinking of. We kind of broke it down into 3 categories, right? So there's 4 categories. I'm sorry. You could fly there, you could drive, you could actually take a train, or if there's international overseas travel. So let's start with one of the more popular ones because we're up on the northeast coast of flying there. Jordana, from your opinion, would you recommend either booking your airfare first or would you book your Disney vacation first? Because that's a big question that people might not know where to start.
So I always recommend booking Disney first due to the fact that I do recommend, booking as far in advance as possible. And some airlines might not have their flights out just yet. So I say book Disney first, and then let's look at your airlines. And then, if we can, if you do book airfare and it does usually, if you try to book as far as in advance with that as well, you can get a cheaper rate with that. But like I said, some lines like Southwest and stuff, they don't have all those dates for 2020 out yet.
No, and that's a valid point. But yeah, I mean, there's no wrong answer in that. But Jordan brings up some good points, and you kind of pigeonhole yourself if you start waiting too long to wait for the airfares. You got to really find what is for yourself and what works better for you and how you are going to do it. So, I mean, Bob, you really have anything to add as far as flying there or getting there that way?
No, I think you guys covered it. I mean, we fly from a fairly regional airport, so it's very easy for us. Correct. I know some people are apprehensive about flying, so I think we'll give you a couple other options coming up. I would just, say, just know that Disney is expensive and flights are expensive, but know this is I don't say a once in a lifetime trip, but there's a very good chance, I mean, Jordan is absolutely right. You can almost mold your vacation around when you can get flights as long as there's room availability. And the way the inventory runs, Disney's going to make sure you have a room somewhere, whether it's you got to change resorts, whatever it is, to accommodate the flights. I mean, so definitely book the Disney trip first, in my opinion, from my experience. And then, when you see a deal you like on the airlines, though, be sure to grab it. That's the one piece of advice I'll give you.
Correct.
And you can't check it every day and say, oh man, I paid $120 for this flight round, $120 one way, but now it's down to $99. You got to know going in what you want to spend, and if it goes lower after you bought it, then it kind of is what it is.
That's a great point, Bob. You be happy that you booked it. Be happy you're excited. Don't get caught up and I could have saved $60. Absolutely, that's a great point.
No,
that a lot of
it's
people
nickels on the dollar, really. So it's not.
It really is.
Yeah.
I will say though, Disney, and we're going to get into this a lot tonight and really into next week's episode, but Disney does an amazing job if you are flying into Walt Disney World and Orlando Airport. They figured it out. They know how to get it done. And it's almost like they prefer you to fly into Orlando rather than any other transportation method. They want you to fly. And we'll get into some of that later. But let's talk about your next option and why maybe your next option isn't maybe as efficient as flying in. So I'm talking about driving yourself to the park. depending on where you live in the country, that might or not in the country, that might not be a feasible option, right? I know for us, if we wanted to make that haul, it is a nice 19-hour drive, but even if it's a 8-hour drive, just make sure you plan it out. And as we talked about this kind of topic of the title, and even with flying, you're going to Disney World. Make it fun. Find fun ways to interact with your kids and just get everybody excited. This should be a moment that you never forget, and whether it's your first or your 50th. I want to remember every memory, and I have memories from different trips, so make sure you cherish those. But with driving, there's going to be some headaches here. So once you travel, you get all your mapped out, you're there, you're pulling in, you see the big arches, you're excited, you're driving into your resort. There are some issues, or not issues. There's some more nickel and diamond, as Bub says.
That is correct.
The resorts, if you're staying on property, they charge you to park, unfortunately, per night. I think they instituted this maybe last year or year before.
Within the last 2 years, it's been, though, I believe.
Yep. So if you're
officially property wide, I know they were doing it at some of the resorts as a pilot program, but the last 2 years, it's really kind of it's been every resort now.
Correct. And we're going to get into the different types of hotels in a minute, but they range from anywhere from $15 to $25, depending on which resort you stay at. So value resorts are $15, moderate's $20, deluxe is $25, and then certain resorts actually offer valet parking, which is $33. So that's per night. So again, just keep in mind, it's not thousands of dollars, but you're talking over $100. If you're going to be staying there for a few nights. And then you still have the parking. So if you are going to drive to one of the 4 parks, it's going to cost you quite another hefty sum of money there. So $25 for standard parking and $50 for preferred kind of closer parking. But even if you drive to your resort, there's still transportation there, so you wouldn't need to drive to the actual parks.
And I think we'll get into it next week too, or maybe it's later. It's actually in a little bit tonight. You don't necessarily have to rent a car because Disney will transport you from the airport too. So if you're on the fence about the car, but a rental car, you don't need to rent either. And I think we'll cover that in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted you guys to understand that you don't have to rent a car when you're down there, because you're probably saying, well, you gotta park anyway, so what's the difference? So just stay tuned, and we'll be sure to cover that for you in a few minutes.
That's a good point. The next option is by rail or by train, Amtrak. So there are options. There's no options offered by Disney or partnered with Disney as of now, but Virgin Company, same guy, right?
Yeah, same guy, same lunatic.
Yeah.
He's also starting a cruise line too. So.
Oh yeah, guy's crazy. But so there's talks and rumors about them connecting a Miami to Orlando connection, and there's not a lot of info about that yet. So more to come. We'll keep you guys updated. But there are 2 options. You can take the train or Amtrak into Orlando train station, which is about a 2-hour drive to Walt Disney World, or the Kissimmee station, which is about a 90-minute drive. Depending on where you're coming from, they might have different stops. However, just to be clear, once you get to that train station, Disney does not provide any transportation to your resort or their property. So you are responsible for getting a taxi, an Uber, whatever it is that you would need. And I was looking today, Bob. Do you know how much it costs for like a round trip ticket for like from New York City to Orlando?
It's no, but I will venture that it's very expensive.
It's more than a plane ticket, I'll tell you that.
Correct.
It's more than a plane ticket, and it takes 22 hours.
Oh.
Yes.
So that's because of all the stops and stuff. So it's not. I get some people can't fly for whatever reason, but that's an option. And then, like we said, overseas travel, international, where you're coming from in the world. Unfortunately, we live in the United States, so we don't have experience from that.
Unfortunately, we live there, but unfortunately, to explain this topic, we certainly don't have much information.
And not that it's anything different, but there might be hiccups that international travelers have to overcome.
Customs and various, passport issues that we probably wouldn't know about, right? So
yeah. So all I say, if we have any listeners out there that that do this or have done this regularly, you want to reach out to us, we'd be happy to share your story and go from there. So
certainly.
The next one, there's a lot of helpful planning tools out there that can help guide you to making the right decisions. And I'm going to get into how the Disney guys Uncensored can help you at the end of the episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But like I said, the internet is your friend. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. There's even YouTube videos to get your kids excited. I know when my kids were younger, we actually showed them a lot of the rides to make sure they would be comfortable and get them prepared for that. There's my favorite Disney book that's published by Disney. They issue one every year with updates, and this has everything from ticket prices to strategies to fast passes to resort information, dine-in experiences, you name it, it's in there, and it's called the Burn Bomb book, BIRNBAUM book, and you can find that pretty much Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you want. And that costs about what, Bob? I think like $20 nowadays.
Yeah, 18 to $20 in that neighborhood. If Amazon's running a deal, you might be able to grab it a little cheaper. If you have a Barnes & Noble membership, you can use your 30% off coupon on it. Just saying,
That's not a bad deal. And then, of course, there's message boards, Google searches, Facebook, social media groups, all that stuff. And then, of course, listen to us, the Disney Guys Uncensored, because we have 6 episodes, not counting this one, right, of amazing information that we could share with you. So check us out, and we reference a lot of these other episodes upcoming that we can help you with. And then lastly, talk to a travel professional like Jordana because they're free. So why not utilize someone that does this for a living and does it every day? No brainer. Right, Jordana?
Right.
I know for me, I really enjoy the videos that Disney puts out, the vacation planning videos. They do them direct to YouTube, or you can go on and get a direct link to it too. And
are they still doing that yearly, Bob?
They don't. Listen, yearly's a stretch, and you can't see me using air quotes. I know that they kind of do subtle updates to certain things. You might see concept art for new attractions in it, but for the most part, it's a pretty standard form set up now. I would honestly I've actually written to Disney Plus quite a few times to get Disney Resort TV put on there, and some of the vacation videos. I've gotten no response back yet, but I think they're missing out on a real selling point. It's pretty much free advertising for them. I can't believe that somebody in that company hasn't thought of putting that stuff on there yet.
Well, I think that Ida or somebody does listen to our podcast, Bob, because I remember back in the Roundtable episode when Jordana asked for a Disney cooking show, and Correct. I believe there's one coming to Disney Plus now.
I know. Where's my big check? That was my.
It's in the mail, Jordana. It is in the mail. Okay.
All right. So now the next question, and this is, if not, probably the top 3 questions I would ask, right, Jordana, that you probably get asked.
Yep.
Picking a place to stay. Where do I stay? And I have no idea what anything is, so where do I start? Well, the first question you want to ask is, do I stay on property or do I stay off property? And I have a feeling that all 3 of us are going to agree on this for once and say on property is a no-brainer. And people are going to say, well, I'm on a budget. I want to save money. I'm telling you guys right now, you start looking at some of these prices, and you'll probably save money if you stay on property. Between transportation and the ease of everything and time savings. And if you don't stay on property, then you're driving to the parks and you're paying for parking. I'm telling you, Disney does have this misconception, I truly feel, of it's this millions of dollars to go to the park. And I do believe that's a misconception in ways where it's not that much. And I don't want to get into talking about value versus cost, because I think everyone will agree that the Disney value is beyond any other vacation you're going to go on. But it's really not as much money as people say it is either, depending on how you do it. So we actually talked about all this next info on episode 24, where we talked about value resorts. But Walt Disney World is broken down to 3 subcategories of resorts. There's value resorts, moderate resorts, and deluxe resorts. And the value resorts, we did an entire episode on every value resort. We had a lot of fun. It's actually very informational. Episode 24, like I said. And Bob, why don't you fill us in a little bit on what a value resort means to a new person or a newcomer, and why they are such a incentive, incisive reason to stay.
So I have to come out of I have to say something off my chest here. Is I did a lot of research this week on trying to sell you people, you listeners, on off-property benefits. And Jordana, as a travel agent, I know it's coming from a place for you where you're not necessarily conflicted about it, but before we get into the value resort, give me a benefit of staying off property, because I didn't find one, and I just don't know if you have one.
I really do not have one either. I'm team on property. I will, I think what you're not paying with in cost, are, like Drew said, you're getting with value, where you have Disney customer service with the guest services. Cast members are amazing. It's service you will never get anywhere else. So I think that is worth the extra $20, $30 you're saving a night.
So I did take a very scientific poll at work. I talked to one person that I know is a Disney Vacation Club member whose parents live down there, and he said that'd be the only instance he doesn't stay on property is if he ends up staying with the parents for like a weekend and he just jets over to the park randomly, which is an entirely different style of vacation than we're talking about. If you're going directly to go to Disney, even if you're going to Universal, even if you're going to the Everglades National Park, even if you're going to SeaWorld, stay on Disney property if that's where the bulk of your vacation money is going to be. And I'm going to tell you why. Value resorts right now, again, if you get it the right night, the pricing starts at $99 a night. I would challenge you to find an accommodation in that Orlando metropolitan area that is $99 a night that you're going to get the benefits of staying at a Disney hotel. And like Jordana said, it's value, Andrew said it too, value versus cost. The cost might be a little more, but the value, the perceived value of your dollar is going to go significantly further staying at a Disney resort than it's going to be staying at the Quality Inn or the Econo Lodge down the street. There's a lot of beautiful resorts in downtown Orlando. Universal's got a bunch of beautiful resorts, and Margaritaville opened up one down the street that's actually an official partner hotel or good neighbor hotel. But those aren't going to be any cheaper than what you're spending at Disney, and sometimes they're more. So what do you get for that? Andrew, let's be honest, you get the transportation to and from the parks by motor coach and by Skyliner at Pop Century and Art of Animation, which are two of them. One note about Art of Animation, they are broken down into 3 groups of suites and standard rooms. The suites do run about $380 a night, starting at, unless you get a discounted room rate, which I'm sure Jordana would tell you they have discounted room rates pretty much all year at various times for different things. So I will tell you some of the best food courts on property at the value resorts if you have children. Yeah. If you have children, or even if you're a picky eater like myself as an adult, some of the best food courts on property, they all have a gift shop. They've all got really nice pools, and in a lot of cases, there's multiple pools because the value resorts are the biggest quote-unquote hotels on property. There's playgrounds, there's arcades, and I think what really sets them apart, and Jordana and I are talking, the oversized Disney theming at these resorts is out of this world. It's crazy colorful, and I know when we took my oldest son by himself, we stayed at All Star Sports, and he went nuts for the tennis court with Donald Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the goofy pool. It's out of control.
And Jordana was just saying earlier, and Jordana, you were saying that out of all your options, you prefer to stay at some of the value resorts simply because you enjoy them better, right?
Yeah, I am Team Pop Century. That is one of my favorite resorts.
Good team to be on.
It is a good team to be on.
I've done many vacations there. I recently just stayed there a couple weeks ago, and I just love it. I think it's conveniently located. I think the Skyliner is awesome. The food court, the gift shop, you really can't go wrong with that one.
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, guys, the hippy dippy pool is fantastic.
It is.
The hippy dippy pool is great.
It is. I will say one more thing. Great for families and hashtag judgment-free zone. I know that's a Planet Fitness thing, but you're going to be there with other families. So if little junior son of a pup has a meltdown at the pool, guess what? Everyone's having a meltdown at the pool. Oh, absolutely.
There's significant, and I'm not saying that people that stay at the Grand Floridian or the Boardwalk are going to judge you, because it is a family vacation first and foremost. But I feel like the value resorts have a certain je ne sais quoi, as it were, with for families, and it's a great family theme hotel setup, in my opinion.
It is.
Again,
absolutely agreed.
So, and I do like the one bus stop. That's actually something we should mention. Is there is only one bus stop. We won't get into it. We've talked about transportation on episode 4, I believe. And we talked about on episode 24 when we talked about the value resorts and their transportation issues and non-issues. But really, the one bus stop convenience at the front of the lobby is a really cool benefit as well.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Bob. Yeah, and like I said, value. The name is deceiving because a lot of those resorts are better than many other, resorts you'll stay at. Now, the next category is moderate, which is the middle tier, and they range a little bit more, but like I'd say starting rate is around $198 a night and up, and they offer pretty much everything that the value resort opens, and a little bit more, right? So each of all the moderate resorts have a playground, sometime a jogging trail, an arcade, a gift shop, a featured pool. Now, the only thing with the pools is I'm going to say that it is a bit of a step up. These pools typically all feature
slides. Yeah, yep.
They feature 1 or 2 medium-sized slides. I mean, they're pretty fun. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have some type of like splash pad or the big bucket of water that falls on the kids. So it's almost like a mini water park at your hotel, which is nice. So it's something to think about. You could probably do a whole day and just trying to relax and rewind and go to the pool twice a day or something and do that. Now, all the moderates also offer the same type of, cafeteria or quick service restaurant. And a lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them, offer some type of sit-down table service restaurant.
So there is only one that doesn't. It is Port Orleans French Quarter. But the way they get around that is with Port Orleans Riverside, the sister resorts. They do have Boat Ride Dining Hall at Riverside. It's walkable, horse and buggy ride, boat ride, you name it.
Yep, absolutely, I agree. And then there's some of these moderate resorts offer some type of convention space, for a small meeting or office work if need be. And then actually a lot of them also offer a water taxi or boat service. Or again, the Disney Skyliner service, so as well as the bus transportation. So they offer a lot more transportation as well. Now, as far as like the room sizes and stuff, I mean, they're all similar. They might have a couple more square footage, nothing major. It's not like it's a game changer.
It's good for those strollers, though, Drew.
Oh, it's absolutely. I'll take any extra space I can. And the last category here is the deluxe category, which is, I'm going to say, the high end. Stays, which ranging from starting at kind of like $379 a night. There's ones that have deluxe villas that feature kitchenettes. It's essentially like you said, you could almost as your home away from home, and those start even more $450ish. So you're starting to really now bridge the gap between your
jump in weight class. It's a jump in weight class for sure.
And you definitely see that little bit more of the luxury of just in general of when you're at these places. They're much more grander and bigger.
Yeah. And, so Jordana and Andrew, I know we've talked about it offline, and we keep going back to that, but I mean, this really, you don't have to stay at these resorts. And I know I can't speak for Jordana and Andrew myself, but the theming at them, there's a certain elegance to some of these resorts. The deluxe resorts, and in my opinion, a certain elegance to them, and really a step up in weight class and food, though, at these restaurants, Drew.
Absolutely. And the beauty is anybody's welcome to these restaurants, right? So you don't have to worry about just, well, like, I'll never be able to eat there and I really want to. But some of the other features and amenities that they do offer is a lot of transportation options. So again, the same thing with the motor coach buses, some water taxi services, and the famous monorail, right? So there is another convenience of people think Disney, they think the monorail. So that is another option that only deluxe resorts offer. Their rooms, again, are a little bit bigger, more spacious. They have concierge services. They have, again, like Bub said, some signature dine-in restaurants, even some character dine-in restaurants, in-room service for food. So a lot of those food options. And some of them even have watercraft rentals, health clubs associated with them. And again, same thing with the convention space and a lot of them even have the valet parking, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So it's definitely one of those dream things. But if you are on any type of budget, unfortunately, I would say don't even really look at deluxe because you are probably almost doubling your vacation costs versus one of the other two. So, I mean, Jordana, did you see that a lot too? I mean, it's probably almost a double in your trip.
It is. And this is, it's one of those things where sometimes you can get a really good deal and you're not paying as much, but you could also get a really good deal on one of the moderates or one of the values. So it's kind of, definitely what you're comfortable with paying and kind of what theming you want to stay with.
Absolutely. And then a few other things about the resorts I want to mention. So almost all the resorts offered what they call preferred rooms. And when I say preferred rooms, there's a lot of different options even under that. So you are paying a little bit more. And these resorts are massive. So if you pay a little bit more, it guarantees you a spot closer to, let's say, the pool or the food courts or the main lobby. It's just closer rather than way in the back.
Beachfront at some of them. I mean, it's waterfront, theme park views. And we could go on and on.
Correct. And that's the other part, Bob, right? So when you say preferred rooms, there's location-wise, so it's a convenience thing. But there's also preferred rooms for, I don't want to say luxury, but really for views, like you said, right? I mean, I know you could pay a view for a pool view or a garden view, or you get into the deluxe, you can pay views so you can see the castles and you can see the shows. So there's really just more options and options on top of options. However, one thing I did want to talk about is location of the property you choose. So as we said earlier, Walt Disney World property is massive, 39 square miles. So it's a huge place. And you really need to look at a big map and you can kind of see where your hotel is located on the property. Some of them are located next to Magic Kingdom. Some are located way off next to Animal Kingdom. Some are located in a centralized area right in the heart. Some are located or connected to the downtown Disney Springs where you have a lot of nightlife and restaurants and shopping. It goes back to what do you want out of your vacation and what are you looking to get, right? So if you're somebody that leaves your hotel in the morning, goes to the park, and then you're just going back to the hotel and you're done for the day, I'm going to say it doesn't really matter location-wise where you stay. If you are somebody that wants to go back and forth between parks and you're park hopping and you're jumping around, you do want to kind of stay somewhere centralized because like Bub, right? If you're staying over at Animal Kingdom Lodge and you're going to Magic Kingdom, back to your hotel, down to Disney Springs, and then you want to go to, Epcot at night to see Harmonious, you're probably wasting 2 hours of transportation, right?
Probably easily.
So, and then the last part would be, maybe you want to stay at like a Saratoga Springs, which is walkable distance to Disney Springs. So that way you go to the parks during the day, you come back, you relax, you mellow, you shower, and then at 7:00 at night you can go walk over to Disney Springs and stay to 2 a.m. and have some fun. So location on the property is also important based on what you want to do. So again, decide on which category resort fits your budget, and then start looking at the different hotels and resorts that are falling there. See which ones you like for theming, and then again pull up a map of Walt Disney World property and look at where they're located on the property.
All right, so before we go any further with this, I'm going to shock the world here. Put you guys on the spot because I'm interested.
Yeah.
Jordana, we know you love Pop Century. Your team Pop Century.
Yep.
if you are picking a resort right now, you and the husband and the little guy are going down, where are you guys going? Budget, no option. One resort you're going to.
That changes it, because I think I talked about this pre-show, but one of my dream resorts, I want to stay at the Polynesian. I just love the theming. I love, that, you could wake up and go get a Dole Whip, or, just go to Ohana's, and I love that location, that it's on the monorail, so I think that's going to be one of my dream resorts. That would be my go-to.
Excellent. So everything we've all said about budgetary concerns aside, she's staying at one of the most expensive resorts on property, probably in the waterside bungalow for $1,200 a night. I'm just saying.
Well,
Drew, what about you?
Budget.
Yeah, I mean,
That's right.
From that point of view, yeah, the Polynesian's amazing. They have, for everyone that doesn't know, it's definitely that tiki-ish type theme, Hawaiian-ish. And yeah, I mean, they have some really cool nighttime lounges. Like she said, the Ohana restaurant's phenomenal. The pool's amazing.
Trader Joe's. Sam.
Yeah, so all of that stuff's amazing. Like I said, I've always been very big into the centralized location, because for some reason I like that. If you look at a map, Epcot and Hollywood Studios is kind of in the central, with Magic Kingdom way up north and Animal Kingdom way out west, and then Disney Springs way out east. That's kind of the way you would look at it. So centralized is a good thing. And I typically do stay a little more central, like the Caribbean Beach or French Quarters isn't really that central, but kind of. So I've always looked at those things. The Polynesian would be my go-to. But what about you?
Yeah, I'd either go Boardwalk or Yacht and Beach Club. Walking distance to two theme parks, Epcot and the studios, and you got the nightlife there. That's right. That's one of those dream things. I would stay there. One of those two there, either Yacht and Beach or Boardwalk.
Absolutely. Good answers. So yeah, resorts, if you have any more questions on that, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help. But we'd be here all day talking about them. And again, the value resorts, we do have an episode out there titled episode 24 that tells you every single thing you need to know about value resorts. And we'll be doing the other ones at some point in the future. So keep an eye out. The next part is tickets. And there's a lot of info here. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to go through it fast, because there's not a ton to really talk about. It's more of stating some factual information. So, first thing again, how many days do you want? And remember, it's not necessarily how many days are you going to Walt Disney World, it's how many park days do you want. And we'll get into the options, right? So the prices range anywhere from $109 for one day up to $470 for a 10-day ticket. So remember, the more days you go, the more money you save. And those vary based on the season of the year and the time you're going and a lot of other stuff. There's now options that you can add to your base ticket. So again, if you picked a 5-day ticket and it costs you $300 or whatever dollars or $400, you then can add these options. The first option is a park hopper. And what the park hopper does is it allows you to go to any park multiple times in a day. So when you buy your baseline ticket, it's telling you can go to any park one time a day. It's really a day ticket is the way to look at it. You can go into one park, you can leave and go back into that same park, but you cannot go into another park. The park hopper allows you to go to 3 different parks in one day for the price of one ticket. And what that does is it costs you a little bit of money to add on. So for one day, it's $60. If you're going to go 2 or 3 days, it's $70. And if you're going for 4 to 10 days, it's a one-time cost of $80 to your ticket. So again, if you get that $470 ticket for 10 days, it's going to just cost you $80 more, making it $550 for 10 days in Disney World with a park hopper. Now, if you want the park hopper plus, add $20 to those prices, so $80, $90, and $100. And what the plus does is the plus adds a little bit of extra. So now you have access to the 2 water parks, which are amazing water parks.
World class.
It has access to mini golf, which actually the mini golf is located outside of the water parks. So gives you access to those. Gives you access to the NBA experience, which, correct, it does cost money to go if you don't have the Park Hopper Plus. And the NBA Experience is, for those that don't know, it's located in Disney Springs. It replaced our beloved Disney Quest, rest in peace. And it's just it's a all basketball themed, interactive, almost like a museum, gift shop, Hall of Fame, I guess is the best way I could say it. And the last
all rolled into one.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of basketballs there. And then
A lot of basketballs.
The Plus also includes Disney's Oak Trail Golf Course. It's a 9-hole golf course, and you actually get a free round of golf there, which is pretty cool. And they actually have a registered foot golf there as well, so cool thing. The next option for ticketing is really quick, guys. I mean, what's your take on the Park Hopper and Park Hopper Plus?
Jordana, go ahead. You're our guest of honor tonight. What do you think?
First timers, unless you're, doing, I would always recommend the base ticket, just because you want to try to do just one park at a time. And, make sure you're experiencing everything that park has to offer without, jumping around from park to park. If you're more of like a seasoned guest and you don't mind going, how to use the transportation and stuff like that, the Park Hopper might be for you. And then the Park Hopper Plus, obviously, if you're going in those summer months and, maybe you do want to start off with the water park in the morning and then go to, Magic Kingdom for the fireworks at night, that's definitely a great option.
Great, Bob?
Yeah, I'm a Park Hopper guy. The Plus is a fine option. It was a better option. It was Disney Quest and not the NBA Experience, but you can't live in the past anymore. So I'm gonna go Park Hopper, even for those people. And I will only say this, that when you have to book certain dining reservations, we haven't talked about it yet, but you talk about booking dining reservations 180 days out. You kind of need a little bit of flexibility. So I like the Park Hopper for people that are, even if they're first timers, and I think this is a difference of opinion, to give it a shot. I mean, if you use it once or twice, you're still getting your money's worth, in my opinion. So,
absolutely. And then, I feel kind of indifferent. It depends on who you're traveling with. Someone like me and Bob, or you guys are constantly go-getters. The Park Hopper is great. To Jordana's point, if you are a family and you kind of just want to do one thing at a time, you don't really need it. So there's two ways to look at it. The next thing I want to talk about is special events, which is hard-ticketed event items. So these are tickets you have to go out and buy to attend like a special party of some sort. We actually did an entire episode on this, so again, I'm going to go over it kind of high level. Episode 3, which we have called Festivals, Magic Hours, and Parties, Oh My, breaks down everything. We were still learning how to name episodes back then.
Yeah. Yep. We certainly were.
So the first part of a ticket event is what they call, it's really before or after hours. So what that means is you pretty much pay money to access a park before or after the park is physically open to the general public. And there's a few different options. The first one I want to talk about is a water park event that takes over at Typhoon Lagoon, and it's called H2O Glow Nights. And it takes place from May to August, and it's about $65 a person. And it's just kind of a cool nightlife, DJ, glow stitch, pool party. And that's pretty much what it is. It includes some food and popcorn and things like that. The next ones, what they do are early hours actually, let me rewind for a second. These promotions trying to change based on the season. So right now, they have the dates out for January through April. And during those promotions, what they're offering is for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. So Magic Kingdom has an early hours for Fantasyland only. And that's $129, and it gives you free access to Fantasyland. I'm going to say that most of the rides in Fantasyland are walk-ons. Maybe you'll throw in like Seven Dwarf Mine Train, maybe have like a 15 to 20-minute wait at the most. I actually did part of this once. Magic Kingdom After Hours now is for the same price, $129, This lasts you 3 hours, and you can have full access to the entire park. So a little bit better value. And then Animal Kingdom also does it for $129 after hours after the park closes and the full park is open. Now there's other ones, like I said, Toy Story Land and Hollywood Studios does a early mornings one. But what else are there ones that I'm missing?
What's that, for like the after hours stuff?
Yeah, the earlier after. I know Toy Story Land does one. In the summer. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Epcot does like the dessert parties sometimes, and that was more with Illuminations. So I think it really just does. Hollywood Studios is going to be tricky going forward with Galaxy's Edge open, so I'll be interested to see what they do in that next segment of events. And certainly, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the Halloween and Christmas party. But I mean, really, for these hard ticketed events, it's really those after hour events and the villains, whatever, spooktacular, whatever they call it. So, but yeah, to me, the villains one to me it looks like the most fun.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, Bob, right, is so these are three parties. There, like you said, there's the Villains Party, Halloween's Party, and Christmas Party. And these range anywhere from like $120 to $150. They get expensive. Mm-hmm. But the cool
depending on the night. Yep.
And we're not going to talk about what they do and what they have because we've done that. But the cool part I like about these are they're all 3 hours long, but they give you early access to the park. So if the party starts at 7, they let you in the park at 4. So you're pretty much getting 6 hours of park time for the price of this ticket. So you really don't need to go buy a base ticket on a day you're going to the party, which I think is a great way to kind of get extra time out of it. And now the last one I want to talk about is special tickets or discounted tickets. There's currently a promotion going on that's running through September 30th. So if you are going there between now and then, this is a good opportunity. It's called the 4-Park Magic Ticket. It's $89 per park, and it gives you one admission to all of the 4 parks. Now, if you want, you can add on for $40 only access to either Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard's Beach, and it gives you access to the NBA experience. So it's really not bad. That's sure $10 a day. So now it's $99 a day, and you would get all 4 parks, a water park, and the NBA experience. But you'd have to use that by September 30th. As far as discounted tickets go, people don't consider the annual pass holder a discounted ticket, but you need to do some research. If you're one that goes to Disney for like twice a year, if you're going on like a 14-day extravaganza to Disney, you want to look at the annual pass holders because it would actually be cheaper to buy that than to go buy your base value tickets. And then 2 other ones at Florida residency obviously get some discounted tickets. And we want to give a little shout out and thank you to Tim Candy because he let us know on some inside info as far as the military tickets go. And if you are an active duty member or retired, you have the ability to get some pretty good discounted tickets. A 4-day park hopper is only $265. A 5-day park hopper is $283, and a 6-day park hopper is $301. So 6-day park hopper ticket is only $300. That's crazy. And then they all have options to add on the Park Hopper Plus if you'd like. The only catcher with these are you do need to go down to Disney property to the Shades of Green office to purchase them. And you can't have like a military family member buy them for you. You need to be present. So whoever is using the tickets needs to be there. And then I believe like we were talking earlier, if you have someone, a local office or something, you might be able to get them there as well. You'd have to check. All right, we're almost through milestone 1. Add-on options. So there's a couple add-on options. There is Bob, why don't you talk about this one?
The bane of our existence, everybody. Dining plan, real quick overview because we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. On the second milestone, which we're not at yet. So you get three options. The quick service plan, it's $55 a day for adults, $26 per day for kids. The Disney dining plan, which is $78 per day and $30.50 per day for kids. And then deluxe plan is $119 for adults and $47.50 for the kids. I would really recommend the free dining plan if you can get it. Or if you're really asking me, I would say go with that Disney dining plan where you get the one table service and the quick service and 2 snacks and a mug. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but just a quick flyover on that. And if you have real questions about the Disney dining plan, please forward them to Andrew DeFusco. He loves the dining plan. It's his favorite add-on option. And we actually did talk about it in episode 18. We did a whole episode that runs 2 hours on dining at Disney, which is pretty comprehensive on what these are. But we'll talk about them very high level in the next couple of minutes in the next segment. So other than that, for me, Drew, this next one, and I think we maybe let Jordana throw her opinion on this next piece here, because one is the real deal, hashtag worth it, and one is hashtag not worth it, hashtag scam. So, Jordana, the next two on the list, why don't you take those?
All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Memory Maker. And what this is all of the pictures that you take while you're on vacation. The people that as soon as you walk in the park that you see the castle and you want to take that iconic picture in front of the castle, you can get unlimited downloads to all the pictures you take, including those iconic pictures, your ride photos, your character meet and greets. These people do amazing jobs taking pictures, and you can also get some magic shots, which is a lot of fun. It's $169 advance purchase. It must be purchased at least 3 days before arrival. If you purchase it after those 3 days, it does go up to $199.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, this is you need to just suck it up and pay that money for your vacation.
Right.
Suck it up, America. Get
you
your
want those memories to look back on. So this was the one that's hashtag worth it. The next one is insurance, which I think could be worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's worth it.
Boo.
This is, just your travel insurance where if something happens and you can't go on your vacation, it's just making sure you get a full refund. So, I mean, if you're the type of people that are going to make sure nothing happens, not worth it, but I'm the kind of person that, you got to be careful with that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And believe it or not, we're almost there. So we just spent an hour telling you about how, why, and what you should be doing to book a Walt Disney trip. And now that you just did it, congratulations. We are almost next to start telling you about what you should do next. Once you decide on all those features we just talked about, it's time to pull the trigger. It's that simple. It's going to require a $200 deposit, which is refundable up to how long, Jordana? 30 days?
30 days before your check-in date.
Correct. So that's not bad. So to what we talked about earlier, it's $200. I know that's a lot of money to some people, but it is fully refundable. So if you even think you want to go to Disney and it's an amazing deal, just book it. You can get your money back. You can change the date. You can do whatever. So once you did that, the next thing you're going to do is go on your cell phone, Android or Apple or iPhone, whatever you have, and you're going to download the My Disney Experience app. And this is going to be your bread and butter, your baby. You're going to be on this thing almost every day until you come back from Disney World. It's going to help you through everything you need to do, and it's going to help you while you're there. And we'll talk about it in a second. And that's where you're going to do a lot of your dining reservations and your fast passes and your planning and your shows and mobile ordering and everything. We'll all get to that. And that's a lot of info. I get it. And there's a lot to talk about. We did our best to break it down in that way. But we're not done, folks. No, we are not. We have more. And we're going to move over to milestone number 2. And Bob's going to tell us a little bit about what is milestone number 2.
Well, milestone number 2 is dining. because at 180 days, that's right, folks, we are looking at 6 months. No, check that. 3 months. Nope, 6 months. I was right. 6 months. 6 months out, they want to know where you want to have your steak and where you want to have your pizza or your salmon. You got to make that decision 6 months out. And Jordana, there are several restaurants that you need to be on the phone at the drop of a hat to get those reservations for.
Yes. Some of the character dining, Cinderella's Royal Table, some of those really tough ones, that everybody kind of wants to get at some of the new restaurants that are going to be coming out. These are going to be ones that you do have to be up at 6 a.m. to kind of book these and make sure you get them.
Now, I don't have to be up at 6 a.m. because I was smart and I hired Jordana to do that for me.
Correct.
So
you do that.
Most travel agents, and all of them that I've ever dealt with or talked to, do kind of help you out as long as you know what you want to do. They'll do their best. Right. To get you your preferred dining reservations. So similar we'll talk about in a little bit. That's a 180 plus 10, so it's really like 190 days. If you're going longer than the 10-day trip, you will have to call the next day for those last 4 days of your trip or however long you're staying there. So
God bless you if you go longer than 10 days.
Yeah. Yes. So 4 basic types of dining per se at Disney is table service, which is basically anything that doesn't involve the customer ordering at a counter or having to serve themselves in any way. Pretty straightforward. You'd know it as Longhorn or Applebee's or Chili's or any one of these chain restaurants. Signature dining, which are considered the creme de la creme of Disney dining. Lots of expensive dining, some really esoteric food. I think Victoria and Albert's, I know you wouldn't know what that is if you've never been, but really high-end dining. A lot of them will require a jacket or at least a button-down shirt and no ripped jeans, no flip-flops, no shorts. It's gonna or shorts that fall to the knee with. So there will be things on signature dining, and again, if you have dining questions, please. Episode 18, we were all over it for 2 hours. So these routinely, for better or worse, are probably the best restaurants on property. And I'm using the term best in air quotes if you're going as a couple or you're going as, I don't want to say all adults, but if it's an adults only trip type thing where if the 3 of us with our spouses went down, maybe we go. If we bring the kids, we're probably not going to the signature dining restaurant. I'm just spitballing on that one. I don't think we would take the kids to Victoria and Albert's, so it's one of those things. Character dining, though, flip side, would be the one that we would take the kids to do. This is usually buffet style or family style where they serve in bulk at the table. You bring your autograph books, cameras, the characters come right to the table. And for me, this is a dirty little secret. If you're going to eat, you might as well eat a character dining meal because it saves you time in the parks from queuing up to wait to meet certain characters. The princesses do a lot of character dining. The Fab Five do a lot of character dining. Winnie the Pooh and the 100 Acre Wood Friends do character dining. So a lot of good options, and it saves you time in the parks. Especially if your kids are big Donald Duck fans or Mickey Mouse fans or Absolutely. Princess fans, you save the time from queuing up for that.
And I just wanted to say, for those that are unfamiliar with character dining, there's typically, I want to say, 4 or 5 different characters, depending on which.
Give or take. Yeah. So, for instance, Andrew is correct. At Crystal Palace at Magic Kingdom, it's Winnie the Pooh, it's Eeyore, it's Tigger, and it's Piglet.
Yeah, they typically are themed, right, depending on what it is. And I just wanted to say, though, if you're not familiar, well, how does it work? I'm going to say 90% of them, the characters will walk around, and they have people, that's their job, to make sure the characters come to your table.
Correct.
So the characters will come to your table, not at the same time. You'll get one, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, you'll get another one, and you'll see all 4 or 5 characters probably within an hour. Yeah, sometimes if you get lucky, you see him twice. And then some other places they do, like, for example, Cinderella's Royal Table is Cinderella actually doesn't walk around. You actually get to meet her in the beginning and take, like, a photo op with her more than, like, when you're at your dinner table. So some places do that, too. I think the Evil Queen does it over at the Storybook. So there's different types of things like that, too.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. All valid points, all really good things to talk about. And then we're on to quick service / counter service because we cannot decide what it's actually called. Disney does refer to it as quick service, which would be good food, competitive prices, fast service, generally cafeteria style or counter service where you would order your food at one station, pick it up, and go seat yourself. So it's all pretty straightforward. I think cafeteria, stuff like that. So really, really cool stuff there. Guys, before we go on any further, if there's one restaurant you could go to, which one? One restaurant.
Characters?
I'll let you go first.
Nope. Go ahead. No. Whatever you want. What one restaurant that people have to go to on their trip?
That's impossible.
What's your one recommendation?
I mean, adults only, I'm saying California Grill.
Yep.
For family restaurant, I'm saying Chef Mickey's.
Nice. Excellent. So you love the contemporary. You're a weirdo.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Drew, what do you got?
Adults, I'm going to say try to head over to the Edison over at Disney Springs. Character dine-ins, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say 2. Go see Cinderella's Royal Table, which is located in Magic Kingdom inside the castle. You'll see all the princesses. Or head over to the Polynesian and go to the Ohana, where you can have breakfast with Stitch, and it's amazing food. And the last thing I'm going to say, when you're in Magic Kingdom, make sure you go to Sleepy Hollows and get the famous chicken and waffle spicy sandwich.
So Andrew gave you 3 dining locations, and you are golden. For me, if I'm not going to the bread service at Sana at the Edible Kingdom Lodge, which I've fallen in love with, I will tell you if it's a couple's trip or an adult's trip, I will tell you the Boathouse at Disney Springs is fantastic. And for me, families, it's got to be Minnie's Seasonal Dine at Hollywood and Vine at the Disney Studios.
Love that one.
That theme kind of rotates based on season, and it's the Fab Five in different costumes. So really cool picture. Photo ops, Halloween time, the dressed up in costumes obviously is great. We went at Christmas time. They're dressed up almost like they are in the Christmas Carol, the Mickey's Christmas Carol. So really cool, really fun photo ops there too. You're asking, hey guys, this seems very expensive. Food is very expensive at Disney. It's a necessary cost. They do offer the dining plan, 3 different levels of dining plan, which we talked a little bit about earlier. Real quick, the quick service plan will give you 2 quick service meals, and now we know what quick service meals are. It's self-explanatory. You'll get 2 snacks and a refillable 16 to 18 ounce plastic travel mug, which is good for the length of your stay. Like we said, that's $55 for adults, $26 for kids. The Disney dining plan, you will get 1 quick service, 2 snacks, the mug, and 1 table service restaurant per day. And again, we'll break that down in a second. $78 per day, $30.50 per day for kids. And then the deluxe plan, which is way too much food. 3 table service / quick service meals a day, 2 snacks, a mug. And it's $119 per adult, $47.50 for kids. The per day credit thing is kind of a misnomer because you really get those front loaded when you check in. You get however long you're staying. Per person that's got the dining plan, you get all of the credits up front. So I know we've talked about it in the past where if you wanted to go to 6 sit-down meals in one day, just know that the next 5 days you're probably not having a sit-down meal credit available to you because you used them all in day 1. A really quick primer, but again, I'd go back to episode 18. We gave you 2 rock-solid hours on the dining plan, and I promise me and Andrew did not kill each other recording that episode.
Really quick question for Jordana, though. Are you allowed to, let's say I have a family of 4 going, can I just get 2 dine-in plans, or are you capped at it's all or nothing?
It's all or nothing.
Oh, what a scam. What a scam.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
And what's the age limit where they would be tied to it? 3, 4, 5? When do
Three.
you
So it's 3. Yeah. So under
That's
3 is
so
free.
bogus. See, I'm not doing it. Not going there, bub.
All right, well, just in case you want to make dining reservations, you can go to the My Disney Experience app or www.waltdisneyworld.com and click on the reservations link. That's probably where I'd go if I was going on the internet to the website itself. It seems significantly more reliable, and I feel like there are more options for times when you go on the website as opposed to the app. What I will tell you is I would call 1407-WDW-DINE. That is 1407-939-3463. Or Andrew's favorite method is calling the restaurants directly. We've all heard the story of Andrew calling up the T-Rex Cafe. For some reason, it's an exceptionally hard reservation to get. It's so odd to me.
It really is, though.
Andrew directly called the restaurant, and they had some times available, and he said, okay, I'll show up that day. He showed up, and he was able to eat. And, there are quite a few restaurants, a half dozen to a dozen, that don't accept the dining plan. I know STK at Disney Springs was the newest one to not accept the dining plan. So
they're catching on.
For me, so for me, I will tell you that the dining plan, despite its cost, because it isn't cheap, it's probably the most expensive add-on you have, or the most expensive facet of the vacation, besides park tickets that you're going to encounter, especially if you're going for 5 or 6 days. It's $78 a pop per day. I mean, it adds up quickly. It really is a good value when you get the free dining promotion, which is going on right now, Jordana. I think they got a book by the first week of February. Is that true?
Yes. So free dining, I think the free dining promotion that's going on right now is the Kids Eat Free. The free dining, that was the specific dates. I believe that's over.
No, I missed my chance, Jordana.
Yeah,
no, there was no chance.
Your kids can still eat free. I'm just saying.
Well, that's great. They don't eat anything anyway.
Yeah, you know, Bubba's kids.
Well, all right, then you're paying. But
so
they
fair.
do, there are still other types of promotions going on.
Yeah. So, so that's real quick. Like we said, dining is a necessary thing. You're going to eat anyway. I'm not going to rehash the issue of people and the conversation me and Andrew had where, people want to pay for their vacation. One thing Disney does do very well is it does allow you kind of as an interest-free payment plan on your vacation. So the further you book out, you can kind of pay it interest-free to Disney. So I do like the idea of paying for the food up front, and it's kind of a comfort thing. But again, if you join Patreon, we have an uncensored argument that is not pretty. We played parts of it a couple of weeks ago, but reach out to us. We'll play it for you. A couple other things I want to touch on dining real quick before we throw it back to milestone number 3 is there is mobile ordering. We don't want to crush you with that this week, so we acknowledge it. We know it exists, but just know we will talk about it next week when we're actually in the parks, talking about what you should be doing in the parks. There are the moderates and up, like we said, have a sit-down restaurant. Park restaurants, for me, it's Epcot and Animal Kingdom in terms of top-of-the-line eateries. Epcot, especially World Showcase, is a phenomenal dining a journey, as it were, and it's truly a journey for Animal Kingdom too, but Epcot is just, it's such a great place to grab food if, in fact, you're into that. Character restaurants, guys, sprinkled throughout the resort. Tons of park locations, and several resorts also have them. And Disney Springs Dining, I mean, where do we even begin with Disney Springs Dining? It is a foodie's haven. I mean, they have food trucks and Earl of Sandwich, and like Andrew said, Edison, which is a mind-blowing restaurant. You have the Boathouse, which is routinely considered one of the great restaurants in the Orlando area. STK, Morimoto Asia. I mean, there's so many restaurants for us to talk about, and we did talk about most of them on episode 18. So really, you have something for every palate, something for every stomach at Disney for food, and I really, you could go there and just eat, honestly.
Yeah.
So Jordana, real quick, for me, I think we've said this before to you, and we've talked about it before, where the deluxe plan is a different type of vacation, isn't it?
Yeah, the deluxe plan is more for someone who wants to just experience the food that Disney has to offer. And the reason I say it like that is because they literally give you so much food. You're going to be so full, you're not going to want to ride it.
Yeah, bring the stretchy pants.
It's a lot, but if that's the type of vacation you want to go on, then that's definitely the option for you. I think I'm more comfortable with that medium Disney dining plan where it's just the one table service each day. But yeah, that is a different type of vacation.
All right then. Well, Drew, that about covers the 180-day excursion, which again, you're asking yourself why, because you do have to book these reservations 180 days in advance. So that is why it's milestone 2. We are headed to milestone 3, which, Andrew, is 60 days out.
Absolutely. 60 days, 2 months. We're getting close, and welcome to milestone number 3. And you're saying, well, what happens at 60 days? I did my dine-in, I did my hotel. What else is there to do? Well, folks, day 60 day out is the most stressful day of your entire planning because it's Fast Pass day, folks. And I think we need to rewind a little bit and say, well, what is a Fast Pass, right? And I hate to cheap plug it, but episode 12 is going to tell you every single thing you need to know about Fast Pass, including what we recommend ones that you should book and the ones that you don't have to book. But I'm going to summarize it for you as quick as I can in 3 minutes. Fast Pass is a way for you to essentially go through a ride quicker. And you can use this 3 times a day with the potential to use it more. And I'm not going to talk too in depth about that because it does get complicated if you don't understand the basics of Fast Pass. So what happens on day 60? Well, you're going to be waking up early, like we should say, at 6 a.m., because at 7 a.m. Eastern time is when you're allowed to go book your first Fast Pass. And everybody out in the world that's going on vacation the same time as you is doing the same thing. And you do need to kind of plan out your strategies, right? So we talked about earlier park hoppers and things like that. You need to understand a little bit of which parts you're going to which day. So, for example, if I'm going to Animal Kingdom on Wednesday and I have a dining reservation in Magic Kingdom on Wednesday and I don't have a park hopper, you need to somehow build all that in. And this whole process of booking a Disney trip is complicated because there's things that overlap and there's things you have to go back and change and other milestones as you go. So there's a couple Fast Passes that you must get. And you're not going to be able to get them maybe for the day that you want, right? So maybe you need to decide what's most important to you. Is dining most important? Are rides most important? Because sometimes you're going to have to pick one, and you might not be able to do both because of the way the days line up. And by doing this, you're going to log on to your Disney website. You can't do it from My Disney Experience app. I don't think any 3 of us recommend it. It's kind of difficult to do. And it's easier to do it on a computer screen. But, I don't want to dig too deep. That's really what you're doing. You're going to be booking 3 Fast Passes for every day that you have a park ticket for. And, Jordana, is this something that you or other travel agents typically help doing if they're that lost?
Yeah, this is something that I am more than willing to get up at. I'm up anyway, but I'm more than willing to, help out with, even planning which days we're going to try to get which Fast Passes for. And if we can't get it for that day, I can quickly try to rearrange some things and figure out what's best with what is available out there.
Absolutely. And Jordana hit it on the head there. You do want to make sure you're prepared up front, and you do want to have a, guide of some sort and an idea of which rides you want. And like I'm going to talk about a little bit later, if you're a patron, we have a lot of that info for you and we can help you get there. But one thing I do want to talk about is something that's called child swap. So if you do have children with you while you're on vacation and maybe they're not tall enough to go on several rides, because they're not going to be if you do have young children like I do, or Bubba does, or Jordana does. They offer this program called Child Swap, and it's not scamming the system, right? Because Disney offers this, and I know Bubba and I sometimes we say it, I say it. I don't mean it like you're physically scanning the system. It's more like you're planning fast passes smartly. And what I say by that is, let's just use an example in Magic Kingdom, right? Let's say you want to go on Space Mountain and you want to go on Splash Mountain. Those two rides, if you have young kids, can't go on it. So if you want to get a fast pass for Space Mountain and you and your significant other want to go on that ride, you don't have to get two fast passes for Space Mountain. You get one for Space Mountain and you get one for Splash Mountain. And what you do is when you go to the line, you go to use your fast pass, you say, oh, hey, I have my wife, I have my husband with me. They're holding their children. Now make sure you go, all four of you or however many you are, go to that and say, can I get a rider swap or child swap ticket for this person? And they'll scan your Magic Band, and now you have a free fast pass for Space Mountain. And then when you go to Splash Mountain, it's vice versa. The other significant other is going to go on it, and you're going to do the same concept. So you pretty much just got 4 fast passes, but you only use 2. So it's definitely a way to utilize the system that's offered to benefit you greatly. Now, remember, that doesn't mean that your kids have more fast passes. So, when you go on other rides that you want to use fast passes for your kids. So it gets tricky where you have kids that are in that middle age where they're tall enough for some rides, but not others. It's going to start screwing off your numbers a little bit. It's just something to keep in mind of, if that makes sense. I know I'm kind of explaining it in an odd way, but I know I've used Child Swap a ton. Bob, you used it a ton. Jordan, I don't know if you have, but I mean, you guys both feel the same way about it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I love rider swap, and again, in the instance that Drew was talking about, you do get the fast pass for one adult plus a guest. So by definition, the child that would be big enough to ride the rides could conceivably ride the ride twice. Yeah, that's where you beat the system. That the kid gets on the ride twice.
So let's say
it's not really beating the system, in my opinion, but
it depends, right? But so Space Mountain is a good example. If I have a kid that's old enough or tall enough to go on Space Mountain, but my youngest is not, right? So my wife stays behind with the youngest, me and the oldest go. You're right. When my wife goes on the ride, she could then bring my oldest kid again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I have seen certain cast members say no to that. And it really depends on the day sometimes, but they're never going to say no to your wife going on the ride. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to turn down like a little 6 or 7-year-old kid. I mean, I like to think not. But anyways, that's Child Swap. More questions about it, reach out to us. It's a very effective system that kind of helps you plan accordingly.
And I believe we actually spoke about it a little bit in episode 12, which was the Fast Pass episode we did. We might have spoken about it, not at length, but we have mentioned it before. So
absolutely. And the next thing I want to talk about is, we've talked about this as well, is what Fast Pass is possibly moving to in the future. And it's called the virtual boarding groups, which is a few rides moving towards. And I'm going to let Jordana talk about it very quickly because she actually has recently done it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about which rides has virtual boarding groups and how it operates?
So this is something that I just experienced last week when I went to Disney. I went for a conference and I went to Hollywood Studios and I tried to get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. So what happens is you have to enter the park, you scan your Magic Band. Once you're in the park, you open the My Disney Experience app, you click, there's usually a pop-up that says join a boarding group. For this instance, it was, the Rise of Resistance. You join it. They'll give you a boarding group number. For me, I think I was boarding group 133. At so you kind of had to, at my point, I had to wait all day. Once they called my boarding group, it was probably about 4:00 in the afternoon. You have 2 hours to get to the standby line. The cast members then scan your Magic Band again just to make sure you're in the right boarding group, and then you can get on the ride. So this means that there is no advanced fast passes for Rise of the Resistance. Smuggler's Run still doesn't have fast passes, but I don't think they're actually doing the boarding groups anymore. And then Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that one is not going to have fast passes right away either. So I guess we're assuming that they're going to be doing the virtual boarding group. But, it eventually, once everything kind of dies down, I've talked to the cast members. They said that they think that the fast pass systems are going to come up with those rides. They do have fast pass lines, so it's just kind of waiting for the the hype to die down a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, well explained. Like I said, that is something that is, keep in mind, at Hollywood Studios is really the only place being offered for both Galaxy's Edge rides, the new Star Wars stuff, and then the new Mickey and Minnie ride that will be opening in March 4th, I believe. Mm-hmm. So good stuff. That's going to wrap up Milestone 3, 60 days out, and we are getting closer to the big day. But before we get there, we have 2 more little milestones to cover. So Milestone 4, Jordana, tell us a little bit about 30 days out from your trip.
So you're 30 days out from your trip now. So at this point, you need to go on the Disney website and pick out your Magic Band selection for you and your family. There are free options, so these are just the basic colored ones. You could pick pink, blue, red, green, orange, gray, purple, and yellow. And then there's also paid options, so you can kind of get like a Magic Band upgrade. These include, exclusive colors that aren't available in the basic ones, as well as fun characters. For example, my husband and I, for our last trip, we picked out a couple. My husband has the genie in the Goofy hat, like the genie that's on vacation.
I'm a sucker for these. I think this was a great deal. And I mean, they're only like $10 to $20.
Bucks, yeah. Now they're back. This was when they were on sale, but now I think they're back up to like $30. Mm-hmm. I have the one with Walt Disney on the Walt Disney World Railroad, so that one's fun. But if you don't end up, if you forget to pick out your colors or anything, they will most likely just send you basic gray ones, or you could pick them in. Even if you forget your Magic Bands, you could pick up basic gray ones at the resort. But I did want to ask, do you guys have any personalized Magic Bands?
I don't actually have any. I was supposed to have one, but change of plans, and I actually was going to get one of the Galaxy's Edge ones.
I have my colored ones from my past trips, but nothing that nothing nuts. No, I've gone straight free Magic Bands.
Yeah.
For myself.
You know what it is? It's one you can buy a lot of these options in the parks as well. And I just feel like once I'm there, I'm already committed.
Right.
I'm a sucker when they now add this as an add-on feature up front. I'm like, I can get it in the mail before I get there. I don't have like 2 of them. But I always found it like, I already have one, and I'm at a park. I don't need to just change my watch band that I'm going to go never wear again, maybe until next, but up front, genius marketing.
Right, exactly. And on to the next one. So the next topic would be the Magical Express. So this is ensuring that if you are flying into Orlando International, that you give Disney all of your flight information so that they can send you the yellow luggage tags. And what these yellow luggage tags do is the day you're flying in is you bring your luggage to the airport, you check them in, and then you don't actually see those luggage until they're in your room at your resort. So this is literally the best thing ever. You can skip baggage claim when you're at Orlando International, and it's absolutely magic. if you're staying off property, this is your fast pass reservation. So that what we talked about in milestone 3, where you're picking your fast passes. If you're staying off property, this is the day where you're picking them.
Another
so this
incentive
is kind
to stay
of,
on.
Yes, it's another reason to stay on. Exactly. And then this is also the point where you want to make all of your special room requests online. So this is, I believe if you go online, you can pick 2, what you want to do, what your top requests are. So this would be not what you're paying for, the preferred or the standard, but this would be, I want to stay on a ground level, or I want to have something that, if you stay at Pop Century, for example, you can say, maybe I want to stay in the 70s decade or the 80s. You can also ask for a crib at this point. Those they want to have in before, I think by 10 days before your trip, just so they can make sure to try to make it as possible for you. This is also, we talked about this before, the last chance to buy the memory maker at the discounted rate. So, you have up until 3 days before your check-in, but you want to make sure you get it at that $169.
Just lock it in now. I agree. That way you don't forget.
Exactly. And then at the 30-day mark before check-in, your final payments are due, so you want to make sure to get those in. Otherwise, vacation is not happening.
Valid point.
That's it for milestone 4.
Awesome.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think we were heavy on milestone 1 because we have been crushing these last few milestones here.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're on milestone 5, which in this instance is travel day and night before. Let's go night before first. You should probably make sure everything you have is packed, or you're ready to go. And if you're wondering what to pack, I think we've talked about it before. Shorts and t-shirts. Maybe some cooler days required if you're going in the winter. Maybe a light windbreaker or a pair of jeans or something like that. But nothing out of control. I would always recommend to pack light and pack in layers if you need to. But also, you definitely, I cannot stress this enough, want a comfortable broken-in pair of sneakers and or shoes that you are comfortable with. Too many times you see people walking around with brand new Nikes and they have blisters for days. So I would recommend a bathing suit, no doubt about it.
A couple of them.
If only, yeah. Certainly to use the pools. They are heated in the winter. If you go to the water parks, it's definitely a good thing to remember. Strollers gets tricky for me. Having 2 kids, we actually have brought our double stroller with us, which we have the vertically, well, not vertically, but Andrew's got the 2 wide, we got the 2 long setup. So to me, though, if at all possible, I highly recommend a sturdier umbrella stroller. It takes up less space. It's easier to deal with, and if it's only costing you $20 and you're shipping, you're flying down with it, it gets stored in the underbelly of the plane. Just know that there is potential for damage there. So you don't really want to have your good family stroller on the belly of the plane. But again, I've done it a couple of times and it's worked out. But I would recommend maybe an umbrella stroller, a lightweight stroller. And I don't think it can be stated enough to bring a soft-sided cooler of some sort for some snacks. Yes. Disney won't allow you to bring ice into the park, and it's tricky with ice packs. You'll have to pack the ice packs on the checked luggage and not your carry-ons, obviously, due to considerations with the federal regulations. So, but certainly a couple ice packs and a soft cooler to bring to the parks isn't an awful idea. Andrew had some colorful language about why he wanted to bring the soft cooler, but we're gonna I'm not going to
talk about the rules, but I just want to say about the packing in general, and this might sound stupid, and because I'm a planner by heart and the self of silliness, whatever, but you definitely want to don't wait for the week of to start packing. You want to create a list from milestone 1, because there's stuff along the ways that you want to make sure you include to make your vacation easy and convenient. And you'll forget if you wait. And I think these milestones try to help you remember those things. So start a list, put it on the refrigerator or whatever.
Yeah, suntan lotion, stuff like that. But again, a lot of the sundries and stuff, Drew, and I know we've talked about it in the past, that you kind of get whacked inside the Disney bubble for pricing. And not that they're gouging, but I mean, if they have you on property without a car, what are you going to do? So you're going to go to the gift shop. You're going to pick up the toothpaste. You're going to pick up the suntan lotions. You're going to pick that stuff up. And the sundries that do whack you on. I mean, you're looking at a tube of suntan lotion that costs you, $1.50 at the local Walmart is going to cost you $6 at the Disney gift shop. So
good deal.
Something to keep in mind. Yeah. I mean, so I will say we talked about luggage tags a little earlier for the Magical Express. You certainly want to make sure those are correctly adhesed to your luggage, or your luggage will be lost. Just letting you know. You want to make sure your Magical Express ticket and your Magic Bands, which again, by definition, if you've booked everything appropriately according to our guidelines, you won't necessarily have a quote-unquote Magical Express ticket. You will have a claim check area. You will do that. But your Magic Band now does technically act as your Magic Express ticket. They do send you the hard copy, still the little packet you get showing that you do have passage on it in case there's an issue with the Magic Band when you get there. But keep the Magic Bands in the bag, because when you inevitably get to the parks, you will be able to just boom go right from the Magic Express drop off at your resort. I think it's always a good thing to maybe not the day of, a couple nights before, to confirm all your reservations, confirm your dining reservations, confirm your know that everything you want to do is available, and maybe check for the last minute cancellations on fast passes or dining reservations if there's something you missed out on at the 180 or the 60-day mark and you've been checking consistently. The closer you get to your trip, the more likely you are that somebody has canceled. There used to be a practice where people would go on and book multiple dining reservations at one time. Disney's done better about cutting back on that, where you kind of get flagged on the sites and on the app that you cannot book at the same time. It's not as prevalent. I would say it still happens, so just be on the lookout for that. For me, though, the number one thing that I'm going to tell you tonight that you're not going to do, because it's happened to us all, is try to get some sleep if you can. But you've made it this far. You've booked your trip. You've booked your dining. Your bags are packed. Send them home, as it were. And I'm going to be honest, you're not going to sleep a wink, but do your best to put your head on your pillow and even get it a couple hours. You're going to be so excited. If you got kids, they're going to be bouncing off the walls, crapping candy because they're going to see Mickey Mouse the next day. But just try your best to relax and soak it in, because the next 5 to 8 days of your life are going to be complete hell. But it's going to be the best hell you've ever experienced in your life.
Touche, Bob. I mean, you couldn't have said that any better. It is going to be hell. Hashtag crap and candy. I mean, you got that.
That's going to be my new favorite phrase.
But yeah, I mean, I know everybody. That is a ton of info. I think we did a fairly decent job at breaking it down and put it into milestones and help you. And I think we want to thank Jordana so much. I know you guys have heard us talk about her so much, and now we actually have had her on here. You can kind of see a little bit how she is and how she can handle these questions and the knowledge she knows. So, Jordana, why don't you tell us, again, a little bit who you work for and where people can find you, and a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I work with Travelmation. We're a Disney authorized vacation planner, which means we have Disney's stamp of approval. I, work closely with 350 agents, so if I don't know the answer, one of them definitely will. You can reach me via email. My email is jordanaizzo@travelmation.net. You can also reach me on Facebook. Usually I post from post from my personal one, but also from my group page on, the Ohana page. So you can always find me on there, whatever is easier. And I can help you with any questions you have, with any quotes, and we can get you on that magical vacation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been a blast, but thank you for all the help so far. So I do want to say, for all of the patrons out there, whether you are one or not, if you're not, here's an incentive. We are in the process of creating all these milestones into a user-friendly, interactive checklist planning guide. So it's going to be a guide to help you along the way of when and what you need to do with, time frames and check marks and crossing your T's and dotting your I's of what you need to do. So if you're not a Patreon, I suggest you go over as little as $2 a month at Patreon, patreon.com/The Disney Guys Uncensored. And you're going to be able to get this amazing tool for you to use. So it's going to help you organize your trip from start to finish, and you're going to be able to reuse it every single time you book a trip, because it's super easy, and all your information will be there. So that's available for anybody that is interested. And the last thing I wanted to say was thank you for all of your questions that everyone reached out to us. We got a ton of questions. There's no way we could have read them all. We literally would be here for 5 hours. That's how many questions we've gotten. But we did our best to take your questions and kind of incorporate them into our milestones and kind of describe them. If they didn't get answered, don't worry. And everybody don't worry. This is just part 1 of part 2, because we just got to Disney. Part 2 is going to be talking about on the grounds and how we do that. So make sure you stay tuned next week. And before I kind of close up the episode, I just want to say, Bob, do you have anything else you want to add?
Good night, Batu. Thanks for listening.
Oh, very well. And that is going to wrap up this week's episode of Planning the Walt Disney World Vacation. So if you have any feedback for us or comments, and again, if you want us to exaggerate more on some of those things, reach out to us at the Disney Guys Uncensored at gmail.com. And head over to Facebook. That's where we do a lot of our communicating as well. We have a business page, and we also have our group page. So send an invite. We want you to join the Disney Guys Ohana. We do a lot of talks there, polls, giveaways, contests, you name it. Patreon, don't forget, head on over and join. It helps us buy new equipment as well as provide tools like I just talked about for you guys. So definitely something you want to consider. If you listen to us on iTunes or anything like that, it's so simple. Please give us a rating and some reviews. And the last thing, if you want to be sporting some super cool merchandise with our logos on it, head over to thedisneyguys.redbubble.com. And we have shirts, stickers, coffee mugs. You can get Yetis, you can get Yoda pants, you can get, I don't know, a hat. What else, Bob? What else would you get?
I would get a keychain.
Yeah, you could get a keychain. Sure. Whatever you want, Jordana. If you want to get some bibs for your little guy, get some bibs. Get a onesie. Maybe I'll get a onesie for myself. But we want to thank everybody for all the positive feedback and amazing feedback, and we hope you enjoyed the show. So thank you for listening to the Disney Guys Uncensored.
May Walt Disney World bring joy and inspiration and new knowledge to all who come to this happy place.